Morning, fellas. I want to take some time to talk about the Arizona Cardinals draft plans. Turns out the Arizona Cardinals are hosting the best or I guess I should say the best tackle in this year's draft, and it begs the question, could they just be zigging when everyone else is zagging? When it comes to the NFL draft, defense, never heard of her. And the Phoenix Suns still got some work to do when it comes to cleaning house. How soon will we hear about that today? Let's talk about it all next.
The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Woo. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like callus. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show. Go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show. Go get the cameraman. The Ben Garcia Show.
What is up, guys? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making me a part of your day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. But there are a lot of things we got to get to today, so let's just jump right into it. My guys, Michael, Mr. Bennett in the chat, who I haven't seen here in a decent amount of time. I just thought he was just sick of me at this point. But there's a lot of things to get to, so let's start here. The Arizona Cardinals have basically told everyone what they're doing in the NFL draft until they brought in Josh Simmons of Ohio State for a visit. And I thought this was really interesting and not just something that you should just throw away if you are an Arizona Cardinals fan, because there's a lot of different ways the Arizona Cardinals could go in this draft. But you look at their top 30 visits, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 offensive players in their 20 players that they've had visited. You're allowed to have 30 top visited guys that can come in. You could work them out, ask them questions, and the Arizona Cardinals have used 16 of their 20 on defensive players. And that basically told you where they were going to go in the draft. It wasn't Teteroa McMillan. It wasn't Matthew Golden. It wasn't any of those guys. Instead, they went out and brought in the best offensive line prospect in the draft. And for a lot of people like myself, they get you a little frustrated because you have so many issues defensively that you want to attack the pass rushing position. Or in my opinion, I'll let you guys know who I'm starting to stand in the NFL draft fairly soon here. I think I've made a decision on where I want the Cardinals to go or who I want them to draft, but I'll give it a little bit of time, let that marinate a little bit more. We're still about 2 weeks out from the draft. But you see the Arizona Cardinals bring in an offensive lineman, and you really question why they would do that. What's the point of bringing in a Josh Simmons? What's the point of bringing in a guy of that caliber to this team when you feel like they've got issues everywhere else and offensive line isn't exactly where they need to attack it? And then you think about it. The Arizona Cardinals just brought in Justin Fry, the offensive line coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes, for the same position here in Arizona on the Arizona Cardinals. He understands, if there's anyone in the nation that knows just how valuable Josh Simmons is going to be for the Arizona Cardinals, or for any team that matter in the NFL, it's Justin Fry. So although Josh Simmons is a guy that you probably need to move up for in the draft, you think about it just a little bit longer and you think to yourself, wait a second, that actually isn't crazy. Now, they're not just drafting any offensive lineman just to draft any offensive lineman. But what I've been saying about Kyler Murray, I feel like is pretty clear now. And that is, he can be a guy, but he cannot be the guy. Kyler Murray is a very good player, but we can tell at this point he probably can't carry your franchise. And one of the only ways you're going to win a Super Bowl if you don't have Lamar, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, one of those top 4 elite level guys, even Matthew Stafford, he had to go to the Rams for them to figure it out. If you don't have one of those elite level guys, you're not winning a Super Bowl. Unless you surround the roster around Kyler Murray with elite level players, elite level protection, and good pass catchers and a good running game. Then he can do the rest. Obviously, a somewhat creative offensive coordinator. I'm not so sure if that's ever going to happen with Drew Petzing, who's a name I haven't mentioned for months on this show. But still, the recipe is there. You got to build this team up around Kyler Murray. And you think about what I said last year, which I feel like at this point was the right thing. Last year, I advocated for the Arizona Cardinals to either trade back or draft Joe Alt. I was perfectly fine with the Marvin Harrison Jr. selection, and I'm perfectly fine for it now. But my argument was, listen, I know Marvin Harrison Jr. is great, but you can get wide receivers everywhere in the draft. And my point is, Justin Jefferson looked to be available for a hot second. T. Higgins looked to be available for a little bit there. Last year was Marvin Harrison Jr. in the draft. This year it's T-Mac and Matthew Golden, both guys that look like they're going to fall to 16. All that stuff about wide receivers that I said was true. I'm not advocating against Marvin Harrison Jr., who is clearly a very good player. I'm advocating for positional value. And you think about where the Cardinals could have been last year if you had 2 bookend elite tackles in Paris Johnson Jr. and Joe Alt, and it does make you think, man, maybe that would have worked out a little bit better. Maybe that would have been the move for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I don't know that to be the case, and I'm not advocating against Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr., I think, is going to be a fantastic player in the NFL for years to come. I just look at positional value, and I feel like that's where it stems for me. So that brings me all the way back to Josh Simmons. Could the Arizona Cardinals pass up on a pass rusher, pass up on a cornerback, pass up on a wide receiver, and zig when everyone else is zagging and go get Josh Simmons? Even trade up for him. Potentially draft him if he falls to 16. And the more I think about it, the more I think that that's not crazy at all. If there's anyone in the nation that knows how good Josh Simmons is, it's Justin Fry, the new offensive line coach for the Arizona Cardinals that came from the Ohio State Buckeyes, where Josh Simmons is from. Even the head coach, Ryan Day, couldn't tell the Pittsburgh Steelers how great Josh Simmons is like Justin Fry can, because Justin Fry was working with this guy on a daily basis. Not to say Ryan Day couldn't do most of it, but Justin Fry was hand in hand with this guy. I'm just saying that this is something that makes sense for the Arizona Cardinals. And I got to be honest with you, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, this guy might be number 2 on my draft rankings on who I would want the Arizona Cardinals to go get. Now, listen, I'll come up potentially with my own potential top 5 guys that I want the Arizona Cardinals to take at 16. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. You guys have to let me know if you want to see that. But what I will say here is this. Don't discount the Arizona Cardinals taking an offensive lineman, and even more specifically, Josh Simmons in this draft. All of it makes sense. If you want to win a Super Bowl, you got to protect Kyler Murray, and you got to surround him with elite-level talent, just like the Eagles did with Jalen Hurts. They did go and fill in a lot of holes on the pass rushing position. Calais Campbell, Dalvin Tomlinson, Darius Robinson from last year, B.J. Ojolari's coming back, Josh Sweat. A lot of that is filled, and the defensive threshold has been raised for this team. It's not as horrible as it was before. And you ask yourself, how much can a first-round guy help this team right now? I don't think it's an elite-level pass rusher draft. I think you could potentially get someone in that middle second round as well. And so you missed out last year on Joe Alt. You could have Paris Johnson Jr. and Josh Simmons on one side, Yoda Froholt in the middle, and then at that point, who knows who comes in and plays guard rotationally for the Cardinals. That is one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. And also, you have to address this position soon. I don't know when Kelvin Beacham's going to fall off, but it sure as heck is going to be sooner rather than later. That's an older guy. So the Cardinals moving in on just evaluating the options when it comes to Simmons, it's interesting to me. It is really interesting to see if the Cardinals do go here. And the protection of Kyler Murray, another thing on top of that is you got to keep this guy upright. He is your franchise. And as much as I do believe Kyler Murray is much less injury prone than maybe some people say he is, if he's out for 2 to 3 games, sure, Jacoby Brissett could man that battle station for a little bit. But if he's out for a full 8 games because you didn't protect him, your season's over. So I don't think you should discount that. And I think the Cardinals have a real weapon in Justin Fry, the former Buckeyes offensive line coach, to tell this team how good this guy actually is. I don't think you waste potentially a top 30 visit when you've got holes to fill out on this team everywhere else through 7-6 picks in this draft. If you don't think Josh Simmons could A, fall to you, or if he's not a real option for you. Josh Simmons as the bookend right tackle for the next decade with Paris Johnson Jr. Imagine not having to worry about that for the next 5 to 8 years. The Cardinals have never had that. Combine that with the fact that the offensive line keeps on getting better year in and year out, while also remembering Kelvin Beachum is 150 years old, and who knows when he's going to fall off a cliff. It does make sense if he's the best player on your board and you do have a positional need in him, that does come above pass rusher. If he's better on their board than whoever it is that they have on their board for pass rushing, you got to go the offensive lineman because you need both guys. That's where I stand on it. Now, there is one guy who I am very high on when it comes to the Arizona Cardinals at 16, and I'm about ready to shout it from the mountaintops. But I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm going to make you guys wait for it a little bit. And I want to see how the draft board continues to fall because I'm not so sure this guy's going to be here at 16. And it's a guy that I would choose over everyone else. Josh Simmons, Pierce from Tennessee, Kenneth Grant, whatever it is. Cam Scatterbu, although that would never happen at 16. And it shouldn't ever happen at 16. There is a guy that I like. But for now, who I will advocate for is Josh Simmons because it makes a lot of sense. And I got to be honest with you guys, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm an NFL scout. I don't do that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm crunching film and that's not what I do. I have a lane and I stay in it, and I don't try to pretend to be this NFL scout. I think that's where my respect comes from, that I'm as honest as I am when it comes to this team. And I'm as honest as I am when it comes to evaluating talent. I'll do my own research. Clearly, I'm not coming up here just spewing nonsense. But Simmons makes a lot of sense. He makes a lot of sense for this team. And I think you should start growing comfortable with the fact that the Arizona Cardinals could be going that direction. I see Aaron in the chat saying he's not a right tackle, though. Neither was Paris Johnson Jr. They stuck him at right tackle, also from Ohio State, and played pretty well in that position. Right tackle is a lot easier to grow accustomed to than left tackle is. And that's where the Cardinals would be asking him to play. So it doesn't really matter if he's a right tackle, if he's a left tackle. If you're a left tackle, it's much easier to go to right tackle than it is to be a right tackle to go to left tackle. And in this stage of the NFL, where everyone has 2 elite level edge rushers, you have to be able to protect your quarterback. Every team needs 2 offensive linemen. So I saw that yesterday. Fairly interesting. And it got me thinking, holy cow. I think the Arizona Cardinals might be zigging when everyone else is zagging, and it would be so on brand for Monti Ossenfort if that's what he chose to do. Just building in the trenches. That's what this guy has been prone to do over the past couple of seasons, and we've seen that. He don't care about anything else but winning in the trenches And it'd be interesting to see that if he goes that far to actually make that happen. And if he does, I think I'd get excited for it. Outside of this one guy who I really like, but I'm going to make you guys wait for that. So yesterday was a whirlwind of news. It was insane to see what has happened in the Phoenix Suns landscape. I am a little surprised, now that I've had nearly a day for it all to marinate, that the Phoenix Suns did end up letting go of Mike Budenholzer as early as they did. If you look back at their history, it took them a while to let go of Monty Williams. It took them a while to let go of Frank Vogel. They didn't take either of those decisions lightly. Mike Budenholzer was so bad, they kicked him out the door before he could get his shoes on. And now that we have had all the news trickle out for Mike Budenholzer, the mistreatment of players, if you want to call it that, his lack of accountability, and overall just his lack of caring about coaching this team, the Phoenix Suns absolutely made the right decision. I know there will be people in my chat, and there was people in our chat last night in Locked On Phoenix Suns that were saying, oh, he's being scapegoated, or he's not being fairly treated. It's not all his fault. That is true, that it is not all his fault, but call it what it is, guys. Mike Budenholzer clearly had more to do with the downfall of this team than he did the success. Some of the things that we saw yesterday when it came to the reporting of Chris Haynes or the reporting of John Gambadoro over at 987 and Chris Haynes, formerly of Bleacher Report, formerly of Turner Sports, all this other stuff, formerly of ESPN, it's very clear to this point why Mike Budenholzer got fired. So let's go through some of it. Mike Budenholzer, and these are all direct quotes that Chris Haynes said, or this is how he phrased it. Mike Budenholzer called Jusuf Nurkic a bad teammate because of his screen setting. Two things that I know people, obviously I know people are dislike Jusuf Nurkic, but two things about Jusuf Nurkic that are absolutely true. One, he's a really good teammate. He really likes his guys. He was the first one to stay Brooklyn all over again, but he has stood by his guys. He has stood up for his guys, and that is a real thing that I think players liked about Jusuf Nurkic. He spoke up for them. He really went to bat for this team. I would say Nurkic was anything but a bad teammate. And then the screen setting, Chris Haynes mentioned this too. Damian Lillard had mentioned for years how Nurkic was the best screen setter that he's ever played with. It's hard for me to believe Nurkic just went into score mode and moved off of that. So there was that aspect, and there was also the aspect of the offense was just too random. And don't you all feel vindicated when you hear that? That the offense was too random, and that, for lack of a better word, it didn't make any sense? We watched this offense week in and week out, month in and month out. All the time we were like, what are the rotations? Why is Ryan Dunn not in this team? Why is whoever it's called not in this team? Why is Colin Gillespie playing well one night but not playing in the lineup the next night? Why is Bradley Beal going to the bench and then coming back? Why is Tyus Jones going from minutes in the starting lineup to no minutes at all? None of it made any sense. But even more than that, when they were on the floor, the players didn't know when their number was going to be called. And yes, there is a method to the madness of playing a brand of style that is random, that makes it hard for other teams to get ready for. But you need to have some semblance of a game plan. And the players didn't like that either. And I got to be honest with you guys. The one thing that stuck out to me the most, which is really starting to push me in the direction of, man, I don't think Mike Budenholzer, A, cared at all, and B, was ever a very good head coach. Gambo said yesterday on the radio, and I wish I had it to play it for you guys, that it seemed like Budenholzer had other priorities other than coaching the Phoenix Suns. Listen, I am a very strong advocate of, yes, family first, everything else second. For me, it's my wife first, everything else second. What you're seeing is a clear disconnect between basketball and reality. Yes, Budenholzer should absolutely put those types of things ahead, his family, wife, whatever, kids. I get that. But number two is the Phoenix Suns. You're getting paid $50 million a year to coach one of the best teams or one of the most expensive teams in the NBA, if I was actually saying that correctly. You can't be that guy. You can't be the guy that barely cares about this team. Mike Budenholzer, some of the issues with him is clearly came true with some of the reporting that me and my co-host Brendan Clean talked about. It was like, does this guy even care? He didn't try to save his job. So the more reporting that comes out, the more I'm like, damn, I think Budenholzer was by Gambo sourcing, miserable to deal with, and just an incredibly tough person to be around. And if you're not getting along with Devin Booker, it's like not getting along with your boss at work. You're just going to get the axe at some point. But more than that, I don't want to just rag on Budenholzer. I see my guy Mike in the chat saying Bud has a chip. The Suns don't. Well, Frank Vogel had a chip, and, he still doesn't have a job either. Mike Brown took the Cavaliers to a championship. Nothing happened after that. Monty Williams took this team to the championship. Hey, Popovich has got multiple championships, and he hasn't sniffed the playoffs, and it feels like a decade. So I don't really necessarily agree with that, although I do appreciate my guy Michael. The fact that James Jones hasn't been fired yet, and I'll even go a step further. The fact that Matt Ishbia assembled the Avengers in Josh Bartlestein and James Jones and got in a room together and fired Mike Budenholzer together, it makes me to believe that you haven't learned anything. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's ongoing discussions about what James Jones' role could look like. Maybe I'll bring in a Bob Myers to help kind of oversee everything, or a Dave Griffin to help oversee everything, and letting Josh, and I don't care if I'm just being fair, I just dislike Josh Bartlestein because he's a Nepo baby. I don't think he should be at where he's at. I don't think he's earned it. That's one of the gripes that I have with Josh Bartlestein. But that's my own personal gripes because it drives me insane when people get jobs because their daddy is someone else. It's someone that gets them that job. And that's clearly what Bartlestein is. And maybe he owns it, whatever. I never was going after Bartlestein because I thought he was in charge or a part of some of the decisions being made in terms of roster construction for this team. And it turns out maybe he's got a little bit more of a hand in that than he probably should. I'm not so much so advocate Bartlestein because of his CEO stuff. I would be more so fire Bartlestein if he has any say in the roster construction of this team. He doesn't need to be talking about anything of that. So if Bartlestein wants to stay and just go make deals with MasterCard and Visa and PayPal, he can stay. But he cannot be sniffing this roster. He can't be near a draft war room. I don't want him there. That's not his lane. So if we're going to move on or keep Bartlestein, which I think they're going to do because Ishbia and him have that close relationship, he can't be touching this roster. But James Jones has got to go. We've ran this course with James Jones. And the fact that this Suns season didn't finally give you clarity of that. It's like Ishbia, man. I've done a lot of defending of this guy because he's opened up the checkbooks, because I know people like to say, oh, the $2 hot dogs. He has made things affordable for Suns fans to come. That is to come to games. That is not nothing. Making Suns games free. Other owners are not doing that, guys. That cannot be taken lightly. Creating new facilities for the Suns team. Putting his money where his mouth is. All of that is great. But come on, man. It's a little bit mom and pop Michael Bidwell style if you're not firing guys just because they're nice people. We got to move off of this stuff. And so the fact that there's no clarity in this, I am a little disappointed. Even if it's a slow trickle, right? Even if it's a slow trickle of where the Suns want to go and moving off guys, I am not happy with that either. This Suns season, I think everyone in the chat would be able to tell me this, was a colossal failure. I am not the one who's freaking out or overblowing it. They were 13 games worse or 16 games worse this year than they were last year. That's an embarrassment. And it would be 13 games. They won 36 games, 49 games, whatever. That's an embarrassment. The Suns should be utterly embarrassed. And the fact that Ishbia doesn't feel the need to be so embarrassed to walk in there and to just fire everyone that he sees. I don't care who it is. Just fire him. Make an example out of everyone. I don't know what to say at that point. It's just embarrassing. And the fact that James Jones hasn't taken the axe yet. Now, remember, James Jones can't be fired because his contract is just run out. The wording from Shams Charania or Chris Haynes or whoever it's going to be that breaks the story is going to be a mutual parting of ways, which will look good for James Jones and will look less bad for Matt Ishbia for that relationship, but he can't be fired. Only Bartelstein can be fired because that contract isn't up yet. You can't fire someone who's already out the door. So I thought this Suns season gave this team clarity, and it doesn't turn out that that's the way they've seen it. And that really pisses me off. And it should really piss you off as well. Because what we saw, the only light at the end of the tunnel, after watching the season, was very clearly, it's almost over soon. They're going to get rid of all of these guys, and we're going to figure out how to retool this roster and retool management. They didn't do that. I know it could be coming soon, but it's been a little too long for us to just be continuously waiting for that. I thought they learned their lesson. Frank Vogel took a while to get fired. Monty Williams took a while to get fired. Mike Budenholzer, axed, gone. James Jones, let's think about it. And let's have him in the room as we fire Mike Budenholzer. It's disappointing, man. It's disappointing, and those guys cannot just be here. Everyone's got to take the axe. For those of you that don't know, I stream every day, Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m., 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come on in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the stream. Guys, listen, I'm coming on here, giving you all the great sports content. My guy, Mr. Bennett, Michael, Aaron, David in the chat. See, I haven't seen David in here. No one knows more on sports than the infamous Valley legend, Benjamin Garcia. That's like 10 notches too nice, but I'll take it. My guy, Ivan in the chat. I appreciate all you guys being here. I am here every day. Well, I'm here Monday through Thursday at 7 a.m., 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until further notice, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. DM me on any social media platform. I will DM you back at Ben Garcia Show on all social media platforms. Instagram, X, TikTok, YouTube, at Ben Garcia Show. You send me a message, a like, you reply to me on Twitter. I will reply back to you. I appreciate you guys being here. It means a lot for you guys to come in here and talk some Suns, talk some NFL with me. We'll be back tomorrow. Appreciate you guys being a part of the stream. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. Interact with me. I'll see you guys there. And most importantly, I'll see you guys tomorrow at 7 a.m., 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's been the Ben Garcia Show.